Welcome to ID to connect. Please enter your conference ID followed by the pound key. Welcome to the
Shalom Benoni.
conference room. Please enter your password. At the tone, please record your name followed by the pound key.
PALTIEL.
Thank you. Your next participant number 2.
So, looking at with all interruptions, I would like to. I think the logically should start by the middle of the second section of Menachem Av, and then it begins with the word ha-ohr.
The middle of the on Peichet
Pei Vav. Ois Lamed Ches.
Ches. Right. And ha-ohr, yeah.
Yeah, ha-ohr.
Shahamadregos.
And we're in the middle of being explained that the principle of a lower madrega, and that the lower madrega should come to the surface, should be ne'atzal. The word ne'atzal, we said emanate. And the reason I've explained, we didn't really go into it sufficiently. We don't call it created, we call it ne'atzal. The difference between being created and being ne'atzal or being emanate is creation means something that is being created totally outside of its source, a novel presence. And even that which facilitates its presence. In other words, the place where it's being erected is outside of the source that creates it, that builds it. Pardon me. Looking at creation. Emanation is also in a certain sense a creation, because prior to the emanation you would not know what's contained in the source. Because the source, the oil of the source is so overwhelming that you don't really associate with anything else. Nonetheless, there is the emanation. And emanation is simply it represents that which is inherently contained in the source, but it is contained in the source and completely, so to speak, contained and absorbed by the source. And now it emanates as a, and it shows itself as a real presence. But even when it becomes a real presence, thank you very much, it is not a presence that claims independence of its source. A bria claims independence of its source. Atzilus does not claim independence of its source. This is why Atzilus, there are four worlds: Bria, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. So Bria, Yitzira, Asiya are real worlds. Atzilus is also a world, but it's called also a world because it has all the 10 spheres and the Eretz B'Kelim. But it is called Atzilus. It is totally affected by the oil from which it represents. It's called Atzilus. So now Shmuel was bothered by the question. What is it?
What's Shlomo bothered?
Atzilus is not Yesh Ma'ayin.
Atzilus is not Yesh Me'ayin. Binah is Yesh Me'ayin.
But does it say that
I'm sorry?
Yesh is not in the Ayin?
What do you think?
See,
Does it mean to say that the Yesh is not in the Ayin? When we're saying that it's not in the source, it's outside of the source, does it mean that it's like this, or it just seems for the Bria that it's like this?
Okay, this is what we're going to be discussing this morning. There's a limit to what extent we can go there, because we have to continue inside. But just get the gist of it, the point of it. We have a ready-made mashal that if you focus in on that, we'll be able to get the idea in some degree of clarity. And that is the home, the house. Odom shein lebayis ein odom. That's a quote from Medrash. If you say ein odom without a home, that means that the principle of having a home is inherent in being what a human being is. Any other, it means that represents who he is. Then, as we said many times, once a person has a home, what happens? The home begins to be populated with all the very amenities that a human being uses. These are also rooted in human activity. But we don't say a person who does not have a table is any other. It does not represent the totality of a human being because he has a table. And if you go a little deeper, and I'd like you to think with me, even poverty is a very, very painful aspect. If a person is so poor that he cannot feed himself, is also not life. Nonetheless, there's a difference. We don't say a person does not have food is any other. He has to go and get food. It's a necessity. But any other is a completely different statement. Now, I'd like we should think with the difference. Food is an imperative. How can you survive without food? Yet you don't say any other. But without a home, but a home is any other. What's the difference? The home is the absolute constant of the human presence in the world. It is not, he does not relate to the home when he needs to go to sleep. When he's at work, when he's flying out across the sea, he has a home. The expression, the common expression is a balabayis. What's a balabayis? A balabayis, you don't say bala shulchan. A balabayis. Balabayis means that he's got an established place in the world. He is for real. Everything else even the amenities in the home, let me say a table and a chair, these things come to the surface when a person needs them. The home goes along with him wherever he goes. This is called an emanation. It represents an inherent truth of the person.
To remain on this call, press 1.
You give him another chance, right?
Only one.
There's no shame.
Returning to the conference room.
Let us try and focus in, this is what Rebbe is talking about. The difference between Atzilus and Bria. The difference between chochmah and binah. Binah comes from chochmah. Chochmah comes from rotzen. But chochmah coming from rotzen is in a different process than binah coming from chochmah. Chochmah from rotzen is like an emanation. It represents what is contained in what the rotzen is about. Binah has a certain element of functionality. In order to be able to orient myself in this world that I am, that is part of, that is my world, I need binah. What's the difference between the way chochmah looks at things and the way binah looks at things? This is the key that I wish I understand. Chochmah is all oir. In other words, chochmah does not seek to be substantiated. How come this is like this? Prove it to me. There's no such requirement at all, because the whole question doesn't even come up. It relates to the truth directly. Binah takes everything apart and says, is this all? Prove it, and this, prove this. And you can prove it. But nonetheless, it is dependent on placing it in its place. It's imperative for life that a person have chochmah. Chochmah is the emanation of life from rotzen into a person's conscious being. If a person begins to question his own life, that's when he lost his chochmah. What is life? Not interested. Do I need to substantiate, make certain? No, I don't need to. This is something that's why chochmah says beetle. He doesn't even go into the question of what is it about. I'm given to from the source of life, and I'm fine with it. And God forbid, if I should lose this sense that I'm connected to the source of life, I panic. How can it be? The motion for this, if we can expand a little bit, is daylight versus light. Any other light. Any light, no matter how big the light is, a projector, you still ask the question, where is the light coming from? How come I see it? Oh, because there's a light. In daylight, you don't have that question, how come I see it? Daylight does not consist in showing you what's around. Daylight takes the whole world and changes it from dark to light. Not to see in daylight doesn't even exist. That's why day and night, Yom and Laila, are two different presences. It's not a different state. It's a different presence. They have individual names, individual creation. They were separated. I need to separate from light and darkness. Light and darkness don't mix. But between day and night, you have to make a separation. You realize these are two completely different states of being.
Between day and night, a separation was necessary.
Yeah. I said,
Seemingly, day is like nothing compares. There's no contrast. There's no proofs. So why?
That's why it has to be separated, because it's in a different state of reality, of darkness, of night. And Rebbe had to identify and give each one a name. This is Yom, this is Laila. It's not identified by the fact that I can see things.
It's in our world terminology. It's not in a cosmic sense. It's in our world, the earth. And is it the fact that it's day, and because by us it's day here in our world, but in a broader sense, the cosmic is always dark. So I mean, the universe. Places where so we're talking about in our worldly context. I mean, when you say that now it's day, the sun is out, it's day, and then the sun is out, it's night.
When you switch on the lights in the house, so all the lights are on. There's a bulb. When it's day, you don't say, oh, the sun is out. See, it's day. How come?
Right.
It's a different creation. It's a separate creation. It's not part of the darkness. It doesn't emanate from the darkness. It's a new creation. We spoke about it sufficiently way back when. Just wanted to understand the principle of oir. When there's chochmah, there is ribuy oir. Ribuy oir means that the oir is completely self-substantiating. You're not asking where it's coming from. It's a separate reality in its own right. Much to speak about it. I just wanted to give us this. Okay, so now, this reality from chochmah emanates and is drawn binah. Why is from chochmah come from binah? This is similar to the emotion in the home.
Why does binah come from chochmah?
Yeah. In the home, that the minute you have a home, you begin to contemplate how you're going to furnish it. Why? You have a home. Very briefly, it's true. Without a home, ein odam. But the principal purpose of being a Odom. It's not that he should be an Odom, but that he should be effective in the world. He should be an Odom in the world. To be an Odom in the world, you have to have a means to affect the world. This is all the furnishings. How are you going to affect? How are you going to be active in the world?
Two things. So the
To remain
furnishings
on
are
this call,
here.
press 1.
Yeah.
The furnishings are corresponding to Bimah.
The furnishings, yeah.
Okay, fine.
That corresponds. The furnishing comes as a result of binah element.
Right. And then a statement made just before that man isn't really sort of whole unto himself, but he has this fulfillment or purpose of doing in the world. Isn't it the other way around? Because he's a whole entity,
Look in the Chumash.
that's
Look
why
in
he
the
does
Chumash.
stuff in the world.
Let's look in the Chumash and take a look. And the Rebbe said, "Nasa Odom etzalmenikid museinu." Let's make this phenomenal creature etzalmenikid museinu. What the Rebbe said right away after that?
To fill the world.
B'yirdu b'hazayu v'yashamayim.
Right. Okay.
Because if you have a wilderness in the world, there's all these things, but there isn't that representation of the Creator. It's not the real creation.
Okay, but the man himself is primary, and then secondary comes his activity in the world.
That's right. But he's a primary entity. But what is this entity doing in this world?
Okay. Stuff.
This is where Binah comes in. And here's the point. That the initial creation of Adam, the initial concept of Adam is included, that he should be effective in the place where he's going to be present.
Like inside the home is present even before all the furnishings and
That's
activity that will come.
That's right. He should be effective. That is the complement of Adam. The Rebbe does not create, this is the I mentioned before, the Rebbe does not create half-mast creatures.
And half here would mean if it did not
They are not spread in all existence.
world.
That's right.
So an angel, in a sense, is like half a creation. It doesn't touch the world.
That's right. That's right. They don't compare to the human being.
Okay.
An angel has a mission.
Yeah.
The minute he fulfills his mission, he's out. And not only that, he has one mission at a time. Can you imagine a human being has the ability to find only one address? Once he finds this address, he exhausted his ability to find an address. So I want to be sure to understand that the Rebbe is emphasizing the from mid-oyer and riboy-oyer. Riboy-oyer means that the oil is a completely self-substantiating. It is a reality unto itself. And therefore, there is no place for binah, for discerning entities, because everything is included in the oil. In order that binah should surface, there has to be a reduction of the oil. The reduction of the oil shows that yes, oil is all-encompassing. But what does it encompass? It encompasses in the whole creation, which begins to surface when you go into Bimah. The big thing that the Rebbe is now focusing on, and we are going to read it inside again, is that this miyut of oir, this reduction of oir, does not take place at the point where binah is being created. Pardon me. Which would mean that you furnish a house when you realize that you need a place to sit, so you bring your chair in. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. The complement of a house is that it has a chair and a table and a bed. Although it's a different category than Odom She'eino Bayis Elyon. But that is complement. Why? Because if he doesn't have a chair and a table, he's not really functional in the world. And what's the point of the whole thing if he's not functional in the world? Therefore, this is the big thing in the Rebbe is explaining, that Bria or Binah actually begins within the chochmah itself. The chochmah within itself is able to reduce the impact of each oil, and this is how binah ultimately comes about. So that binah has the sense that it comes from chochmah. Binah does not begin at the point of binah. That's its binah, but it has a sense where it's coming from. Its root is in chochmah. Its reality is in chochmah. Back to our mashal for a moment. When we see all the things in the world, mountains, the trees, the oceans, the rivers, and the tables and chairs. Yeah, everything is a separate entity. But nonetheless, by daytime, we see them all as part of the reality of seeing day. You see them the same way you can see the sky, which is everywhere, the same way you can see a tree, even though the tree is not everywhere.
A tree.
The light shows everything that's visible. Being visible is not being pointed to. See, visible means it's a reality that was part of the real world. That's why it's visible. Now we have to do something inside. Okay, again we start in the ha-ohr. Okay, the introduction has been done. שמהמדרגה התחתינו שבחוכמה ובינה You already said before that Bimah is facilitated by the fact that within chochmah there is an element of miyut oir. Within chochmah there's also 10 spheres, all the way down to Netzach Hodisoid. Netzach Hodisoid are the functional aspects of the spheres. Netzach Hodisoid is in a certain extent make the point. Chochmah is all the point. And let's make the point. Show what the point is. This is not a heavy side. The Mahamadrege hatachteino, Madreges hatachtein is the chochmah binah. Yi atzilus hazot. The lower madreges of chochmah and binah comes forth, the Atzilus has already, the Atzilus, the emanation of the Zozo means the Midas. How is that facilitated? Because within the chochmah binah itself there is an element what's called miyud ha-ohr, the reduction of oil within the chochmah, and this is how Zoh ultimately finds a place. Even within chochmah itself, okay, let's leave it inside. Ukmoi came, and likewise, Bigday she is havas biyah me'atzilus, in order that there should come about the creation of biyah asir me'atzilus from atzilus. Zehu alidei, this is as a result of atzilus gufa, that within atzilus itself mismaid ha-ohr mimadrega madrega, the oil is reduced from one madrega to the other madrega. Now, was there madregas within Atzilus itself? Madregas means less and less oil. The Biyim, here's the point. The Biyim hoya ha-ohr b'shavah. For if the oil would be equal, b'chol madregas Atzilus, in all madregas of Atzilus. If the oil would be equal in all madregas of Atzilus. Which means, Shagam Bechinas HaMalchus, that even the Bechina of Malchus, which is the action to the external effect, Shehi Soif Kol Dagid Atzilus, which is the lowest and the end of all Madrigas of Atzilus, that's Malchus. If that were the case, that even in Malchus, Yiyeh Boy Riboy Oyer, there too would be Riboy Oyer, a lot of oil. What is it? What is miboyer mean and miyut oil? Miyut oil means that is a question. Okay, how come this is here? Riboyer does not leave the question. It is completely self-substantiating. It will be riboyer. I feel in Malchus. So if that were the case, then it would not be possible that biyah should come into being. Just 1 second. Why would it not be possible to not? Because it would not have a root in Atzilus. Atzilus doesn't allow for it.
If what? Sorry, if what? If what? It would
Even
be
in
rooted in?
Atzilus, if in Atzilus there were no different madrigas.
Then it wouldn't be a root for.
There would be no possibility, no place for biyah. In simple terms, in our terms, imagine that you speak at the same rate as you think.
Speak at the same rate.
That you think.
Speech comes from thought, but there is a reduction of oil. If there was no reduction of oil, there would be no speech. If there's no speech, there's no action. And with this we go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Are there madregos or because there is something inherently limited or about the or is it by the ruts, only by the ruts on alien?
It's not limited.
That the or has that gradation.
That's right. The gradation is like a limit, but the root for that is not in the limit. The reason this is because it has as its aim. It comes from it being created as its aim to represent everything. Okay. Thank you for the
You didn't
word.
answer my question about Hamshacha.
I did.
Oh.
And that's what the whole thing was about. It comes because it is inherent in the source. What do I tell you?
It's inherent in the source that what?
How it should come into functional.
That's an inyan of hamshacha.
Therefore, when it comes to a functional, when it comes to the level of function, that's a non-shot. It's like speech from thought.
Just making music, that's it.
Because the speech from thought comes about because of the need to communicate to someone outside.
No, wait. Not the ability of speech is very different.
The ability of speech
It's very different to read like an email.
okay, yeah, right. Okay, the ability
Now think about this. It's not created at the point we need to speak.
Still, when they're not speaking, even if one has the capability to speak, when they're not speaking, that's when unless there is an other.